What a Vinyl community. Welcome to the Fluffy Records YouTube channel. My name is Brian, that's Brian, and today I wanted to make sort of like a response video of the recent Blue Note Classic Series drop that dropped today at the time of this recording, March 21st, 2024. Um, just saw the list and sort of interesting albums that they're going to be releasing. I had been planning on making a video before they had announced that they were going to release the list of Blue Note Classic Series for the upcoming, or this year rather, and it was just sort of like a, I don't know, sort of, I guess, coincidence. I don't know, but as soon as I saw Blue Note announce their announcement for the Classic Series reissue list, I was like, I'm gonna hold off and see what exactly they're gonna be releasing in the upcoming dates. And now that it's here, I decided to make my list of what I want to see in I guess in the next batch or in upcoming ones, so to speak. But I'm gonna put a picture here. Shout out to Jazz Homes Mike for always compiling the albums together, and always does a wonderful job putting them together into one picture. I'm gonna leave a link to the Jazz Homes YouTube channel in the description below. Go follow them, and yeah. So today I want to cover um, a part of the Blue Note series, or their catalog, and that's the 1500 series. And it's mostly albums that I've been wanting, either Blue Note themselves or someone, to reissue for a while now. And and I had noticed in the Blue Note Classic vinyl list, Classic Series list that recently dropped in the morning today, they had three albums from the 1500 series. Now, I think that's that's fair, that they had three, and I'm glad that they put the Thad Jones, magnificent Thad Jones, the Yuta Hip, Volume One, and the Clifford Jordan, Cliff Craft. So kudos to them for doing that. I mean, I know a lot of people have been wanting those to be reissued, and I decided today I want to show a couple more that I hope to see. I know later on they'll put this out, but I'm surprised they haven't put some of these out, of the list that I want to show today. So yeah, before I get started, please subscribe, ring the bell for push notifications so that you don't miss any of my videos. And I've been leaving my Instagram below, so if you want to go follow on there, um, that would be appreciated. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so I'm going to be using my phone here because I have my list, and not only that, but I want to also, get the information right. I don't want to be misinform you guys. So I want to start off by what the 1500 series is. So in the mid 50s, 55, 56, Blue Note switched from 10-inch to 12-inch. They made the switch, and they started 1501 with Miles Davis, Volume 1, and that album was a compilation of two, or was it two or one, 10 inches that he had done prior on the label. And yeah, so that went from the 1500 series, went from 1955 till 19 let's see 1955 till, I have it here, I'm looking at it right now, till 1958, probably even 1959. But the last one from the 1500 series was technically Benny Green on 1599, and then they went to 1600, which is the three sounds, introducing the three sounds. But today I just want to show records that I want, that I'm surprised that haven't been on the list. And so I made five, and I made a couple honorable mentions. Three, I wish maybe they could do classic series, because considering that I had seen three 1500s in today's um classic series list. Starting off with the first one, and I hope to see in the near future, either as a classic series or a tone poet. And I put this one as a classic series. I probably see this one as a classic series, but it would be Paulo Martinez, um, Paulo Congo. Now, this is a very interesting release that Blue Note did back in 1957, is from what I'm reading here. Paulo Martinez was a an American who, I think he was also of Puerto Rican descent. He played congas, and he was in a couple sessions with Art Blakey's, with Art Blakey, and played on Blue Note and a couple other labels such as Columbia. But for Blue Note, he was in Art Blakey's Organ Rhythm, uh, Holiday for Skins, and also in the Columbia label Drum Suite, just to name a few. Um, Sabu Sabu's release on Blue Note um, was a very, very interesting one. I have streamed every time. This is one that every time Blue Note puts on the releases their list, I just go back to streaming this album, because it's such an interesting one, and one that I'm wondering why this one hasn't gotten a reissue. And I think part of that reason is because um, most of the music on here on this album is not necessarily jazz, but it does have, elements of jazz, and it's just very unique compared to the other releases, in this 1500 series. But the lineup here, we have Sabu on congas, bongos, vocals, Arsenio Rodriguez on congas, tres, guitar, vocals, Raul Cesar Travieso on congas, vocals, Israel Moises or Kike on congas. So you have a lot of people on congas. Some people on, or rather, Evaristo Barro on bass, Willie Capo on, and Sarah Barro on vocals. So you also have vocals on this album. It seems to me like this is the only release of Sabu's on Blue Note, which is not necessarily a surprise, but what's surprising to me is the amount of reissues this has gotten, which is not very many, actually. I think there's only probably a few, maybe 4 or 5. I'm checking to see right now, but this one I think would be interesting in the reissue series, because I think maybe people would be interested to hear this like Afro-Cuban / Latin jazz, and will probably be more interested in these cats' other work that they put out, or that they were part of, as a sideman for other groups. And yeah, I mean, this is one. Originals of this go for, I think, at least 1,000, and I think this would be one, either a tone poet or a classic series. I'm putting this one as a classic series, but the last time this one got a vinyl reissue, I think, was from Scorpio, and even the Scorpio reissues are going for tremendous money. So this one would be interesting on the list. I think, somewhere down the line, Blue Note will put this one out. But for now, I'm just still surprised that this one has gotten a release. So hoping that, I don't know if anyone's gonna watch this, and if anyone does, stream this. I think this is a very interesting one, and yeah, this is number 5 on the list. Okay, so number 4, I think will be on the list, is Blue Note 1560. This is Hank Mobley's Hank, or Hank Mobley's Sextet, Blue Note 1560. This is a Classic Records reissue. I'm very, very surprised that uh, that there hasn't really been much of the 1500s Hank Mobley releases. I'm glad that that Blue Note already reissued Soul Station. They just put Workout on the list. I'm probably missing a couple others, but in terms of the 1500, I am very surprised that we haven't seen a title like this one, Hank Mobley. This one was released 1957, recorded in 1957, also released 1957. Sextet. Recently, Jazz Record Center sold an original copy. I believe it's an original for, I think, over 10 grand, and they had just sold a copy of Blue Train for what, 12 grand or over 12 grand. It is absolutely mind-boggling that this hasn't gotten a reissue from either the Classic Series or a Tone Poet. But this is just an awesome session. So obviously you have the sextet. The lineup here is Donald Byrd on trumpet, John Jenkins on alto sax, Hank Mobley on tenor sax, Bobby Timmons on piano, Wilbur Ware on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums. This one is no exception. You get, John Jenkins on here, who only did I think 2 albums, or 3, or around 2, 3, or 4. But on Blue Note, I think he only did 1, which is with the Kenny Burrell, John Jenkins, and Kenny Burrell. I can't remember what the exact title is called, but Hank Mobley, these cats are on fire here. This one, let me see. This one was, of course, recorded in the Van Gelder studio in Hackensack, New Jersey. Now, in terms of the reissues, how many times it's gotten a reissue, I'm gonna look right now. Of course, this one is the Classic Records reissue from 2009. And I think this might have been the last time it's gotten a... oh, no, okay, so Scorpio also touched this as a reissue around the same year, actually, 2009. And I think you can get a copy of Scorpio reissue for not that much, but yeah, it's been, over, I don't know, 16 years since this has gotten a proper reissue. And yeah, this is one that I hope Hank Mobley in the 1500 series that can get a reissue. But where does this one fall in terms of his catalog? This one, before this one, was the Hank Mobley Quintet, which is the green or yellowish cover. That one also hasn't seen a recent reissue. I know Music Matters touched that one. And then Hank Mobley, self-titled, which is the white with the black square and an image of himself. I'm going to be putting pictures in here on the screen, but that one was another one that got a reissue from Music Matters. I actually have the 45 for that one, but yeah, this one is my Classic Records. Bernie Grunman did the mastering for this one, or did the worked on these Classic Records. So this one sounds nice, but yeah, Hank Mobley Sextet, Blue Note 1560, my number 4 for a Classic Series reissue. Okay, so at number 3 for the Blue Note Classic Series contender for the 1500 series, I have a Lou Donaldson album, and this particular album has gotten a few Japanese releases, not so much US vinyl releases. And which album am I talking about? That is Lou Donaldson's 1957 album, Wailing with Lou. Now, this album is, I think, a classic one, if if this one would have gotten its reissues over the years. This one is a great album, great session with wonderful musicians. The musicians on here, we have Lou Donaldson playing alto saxophone, Donald Byrd on trumpet, Herman Foster on piano, Peck Morrison on bass, and Art Taylor on drums. This one, where does this one fall in Lou Donaldson's discography? Well, before this album, we had or Blue Note released Lou Donaldson Quartet, Quintet, and Sextet. I'll be covering that one later in this video. And after Wailing with Lou, we have Swing and Soul. Now that album, I actually have a copy of a classic series or classic records reissue of. I didn't take it out, but I'll be putting pictures here. So that one, those two, I think should also get reissues, but I'm focusing on Wailing with Lou. Wailing with Lou, again, released in 1957. Good luck trying to find originals of this. It's just impossible. It goes over $1,000. And I'm trying to see here, the last time it got a proper US vinyl reissue, I guess Japan in the 90s. But in terms of, a US release, there hasn't been any. The last time it released in the US was back in 1958, and of course it's on the 47 West 63rd address. That is pretty much it. This one, don't sleep on this album. Honestly, don't sleep on any of Lou Donaldson's early stuff on Blue Note. Before his Blues Walk album, definitely listen to his other stuff, his other material with these wonderful musicians. But yeah, number 3, Lou Donaldson. Okay, so now starting with the honorable mentions. In my number 3, I mentioned Lou Donaldson's Wailing with Lou. I'm continuing here with Lou Donaldson. I mentioned his Quartet, Quintet, Sextet album. Now, this one is in my list of honorable mentions. This album is actually a compilation album, which consists of his 10 inches that Blue Note released prior. And those albums are New Faces, New Sounds, Lou Donaldson, Clifford Brown, and Lou Donaldson Sextet Volume 2. Now, this particular album would make sense as a release for the vinyl series. We've seen what's his name, Elmo Hope. They released Volume 1 and Volume 2 into one, and honestly, this one would make sense because Blue Note had already released this compilation for his 10 inches. So I would say Lou Donaldson, continuing with this one, instead of them having to release 10 inches, I don't know how many people here collect 10 inches, so it wouldn't really make sense for them to release these 10 inches and instead release this 12-inch that contains his 10-inch albums. And so, yeah, but this is one of the ones in my honorable mentions. Moving forward, another one that's in my honorable mention, I actually have a copy here. This is Blue Note 1590. This is Lee Morgan's Candy. Now, we've already seen a reissue of this a couple years back by Music Matters and by Classic Records. This is my Classic Records reissue. But Lee Morgan's Candy is the next honorable mention here. Recorded 1957, released 1958 on Blue Note. And this is one that would be an awesome one in the classic vinyl series because, again, this one has already been released for Music Matters. This is an awesome one, just classic hard bop right here. And the lineup here is actually just absolutely wonderful. I'm surprised, surprised that this hasn't gone a reissue, but Lee Morgan on trumpet, Sonny Clark on piano, Doug Watkins on bass, and Art Taylor on drums. This one would be absolutely wonderful to have. Not only is the lineup just absolutely killer, but the music on here slaps. And of course, it's on that 47 West 63rd address. And yeah, I hope to see this one in the near future because it's very much needed. The next honorable mention that I would like to see is an interesting one. I'm actually kind of cheat here. I know I mentioned this is a 1500 series. This one contains a couple of 10 inches that have never been released as like the Lou Donaldson quartet quintet sextet. They never did this one for this particular musician's prior releases. Who am I talking about? First of all, I'm talking about Gil Malay or Jill Malay. He put out, or I guess he had some 10-inch albums for Blue Note back in the early 50s, and so I'm kind of cheating here because I've seen that, I guess in the 90s, or yeah, late 90s, there was a CD release of this called Jill Malay's The Complete Blue Note 50s Sessions. Now, I believe Mosaic sort of did something like this for Hank Mobley and Lee Morgan. I think either as a CD or vinyl, but here I'm going to be focusing on Gil Malay. And yeah, a lot of his stuff ranges from 52, between 52 to 56, and again, these aren't in the 1500 series, so the albums that I want to talk about, or not necessarily talk about, but the ones that I would like to see in one album, or like maybe a double disc classic series, would be his first release was on Gil Malay Quintet / Sextet, and then his second release was Gil Malay's Quintet with Irby Green and Tal Farrow, Volume 2. The third one, the Gil Malay Quartet featuring Lou Mecca, that would be Volume 3. Lastly, Gil Malay's Quintet with Don Butterfield, 5 Impressions of Color. Now, in this CD release that I'm seeing here, there's one more, which is his Patterns in Jazz. But that one, honestly, I think was already released as a 12-inch, and maybe Classic Series can touch on that one because Music Matters already touched that one for their series. So I'm talking about the first 1, 2, 3, the first 4. Those would be wonderful as a Classic Series. I'm pretty sure the songs aren't that long. I think it ranges from 2 to 4 minutes probably, but if it can't fit in a double disc, maybe a triple disc, but we'll see. And maybe I could be wrong here because I'm not sure how else they could release Gil Malay's 10-inch records. If I don't think they ever did a they gave it the sort of like a Lou Donaldson treatment, or Miles Davis treatment, but we shall see. So that is it for the Gil Malay stuff. I guess I keep saying number, but the next honorable mention is actually I'm going to be talking about 2 albums, and this one you'll see sort of like a pattern. I keep showing what's it called? I keep showing classic records, but these two are a pair of separate but related albums, as they say it here on Wikipedia. But I'm talking about Blue Lights by Kenny Burrell. This is Volume 1 and Volume 2. This came out on Classic Records. Can't remember what year, but these albums recorded on May 1958, released Volume 1 released 1958. I think Volume 2 also came out the same year. But where does this one fall? Where do these albums, or at least Blue Lights, go in Kenny Burrell's discography? Well, let's see. Kenny Burrell, before Blue Lights, there was Kenny Burrell and John Coltrane, 1958, on Prestige. And then we have, or I guess New Jazz, which is a subsidiary of Prestige. Then after Blue Lights, there was On View at the Five Spot Cafe, which was released a year after. But volumes 1 and 2 have the same lineup, I believe. Yeah, same lineup. First one with Blue Note 1596, and then Blue Note 1597. It would be cool to see these as a separate release. You know, they're not necessarily compilations, they're its own releases. And again, this is on the Classic Records reissue label. So I'm gonna see here, when was the last time these records have gotten a proper reissue aside from the Classic Records? So starting off with Volume 1. Okay, so this has gotten a few reissues, but the last time this has gotten one in the US was in 2007, Classic Records. There was a 2020 reissue from Spain, but I don't know how many people actually have that. And aside from that, Japan, of course, have done vinyl reissues for this one. There's a couple of US releases, in the 60s and 70s of this, but yeah, they are hard to get, pretty much. And of course, the original one people want because of the Andy Warhol cover, but the lineup here for these two records, we have Kenny Burrell on guitar, Louis Smith on trumpet, Tina Brooks, Junior Cook on tenor saxophones, Duke Jordan, Bobby Timmons on piano, Sam Jones on bass, and Art Blakey on drums. And yeah, that is the ones that I hope to see they do soon for the classic. I would say the classic series. I wouldn't know how they would do it for the Tone Poet, but it would be nice for them to do it as a classic series. And the last honorable mention that I would want them to do as a classic series is Blue Note 1567. We've seen this one as a Music Matters. It would be nice. We've also seen this one as a Blue Note 75th. I would love to see this one as a classic series, and that is Curtis Fuller, the opener. Again, Blue Note 1567. Curtis Fuller, I'm surprised they haven't released, I don't think, any of his stuff on Blue Note in terms of the classic vinyl series and Tone Poet. This one was released in 1957. And this one, let's see. This one Before this one, there was the Curtis Fuller and Hampton Hawes with French horns, recorded but wasn't released until 1965. And the next one after was Bone and Berry, which was released on Prestige, or not Prestige, rather, Blue Note. And that's another one, another hard one to get. Um, that one would also be one that I would put in the classic series, but I think this one is just a classic one. Uh, this I was about to say tone poet. This Music Matters sounds okay. I wonder if they could, if it will sound any better, when it comes out as a in the classic vinyl series. But yeah, you can see the session photos here. And you have Curtis Fuller on trombone, Hank Mobley on tenor sax, Bobby Timmons on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Art Taylor on drums. This is one that I really, really hope that comes out. I mean, I really dig the music on here. It's why I have it on this list, but this is also just a classic one. I think people should listen to more trombone. I know I'm glad they have reissued the Gershon Mancour the third albums, or some, at least some of his stuff. I think maybe just one, but at least they're recognizing, trombone. Um, and yeah, this one is the last on my list of honorable mentions. The last two I have as ones that I would love to see as a tone poet, and I'm not sure if you guys would be surprised. Maybe you guys will. Maybe you guys won't. I feel like I mentioned one of them. I think the one that I mentioned before is on my number one, but I want to start off with number two for ones that I wish that I really, really hope to see in the future, like soon. So number two, I literally just talked about this musician, trombone, Curtis Fuller. Um, they gotta hopefully soon, like right after this batch, the next batch, hopefully they put out for Tone Poet. Curtis Fuller is self-titled, which is Blue Note 1583. Now, I'm saying self-titled, but really it's volume 3. He Curtis Fuller, what's interesting about this one is the session was recorded in 1957, but it wasn't released until 1960. So I'm a little surprised that they still consider this one in the 1500 series, despite it being released, a few years, maybe like 2 years after they sort of stopped with the 1500 series. But Curtis Fuller, Volume 3, is one that I'm surprised hasn't gotten many reissues. This one is, I think, out of all of them, I think the one that I'm really shocked with, because of the number of reissues this one hasn't gotten. Now there's a ton of CD releases, and a lot of these vinyl reissues of this album is mostly from Japan. The last one, the last US, I'm looking here, 1966, and that one goes for over $500, at least the one on Discogs. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm sure they have the master tape for this album, but it's just one that, I mean, we gotta see, like, at least one trombone as a tone poet. I don't think there has been any that I'm thinking of right now. No, but yeah, this one, 1960, and I'm looking at originals right now, and it's just over $1,000. So personnel here lineup: Curtis Fuller on trombone, Art Farmer on trumpet, Sonny Clark on piano, George Tucker on bass, and Louis Hayes on drums. This is one that I really, really want to see. as a reissue soon. Hopefully they do it in the next batch of Tome Poets, or I wouldn't even mind as a classic series, but hopefully this one comes out as a Tome Poet. I think people would most more be excited more about this one being released as a Tome Poet, but we shall see, right? And number one, one album that I really want to see as a Tone Poet, and this one has gotten a reissue on the Classic Records, is this one right here, Blue Note 1575. This is Lee Morgan's City Lights. This one is, I rarely see this one online. Like people, I see some people show this one, but a lot of the times I always have to take this one out to spin. This one is out of like the other Lee Morgans. I think this one I really enjoy. I mean, I enjoy Candy. Again, honorable mention. That's why it's on the list. But this one was released in 1958, I believe. Recorded in 57. Lee Morgan. This is a sextet in sextet format, or sextet form group. Surprisingly, or I guess not surprised, I don't know, Curtis Fuller's on here. So this one, where does this one fall in Lee Morgan's discography? This one, before this one, there was Lee Morgan's Volume 3, which was recorded in 57 and released in 57. Right after this one is Lee Morgan's iconic album, The Cooker, which we've already seen as a Tone Poet, which I'm really glad that they did early on. I think people wanted that one of his the most. So yeah, that is just awesome. And so yeah, who do we have here? We have Lee Morgan on trumpet, Curtis Fuller on trombone, George Coleman on tenor and alto sax, Ray Bryant on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Art Taylor on drums. Yeah, this is my number one. I think I would just love to see this one on the list. And the last time this one has gone to reissue, which is kind of tricky because there is an unofficial release in 2021 in Europe that was put out, but I wouldn't consider that one. I'm trying to look here for a proper official licensed reissue. I guess the Classic Records. There was a Scorpio release of this one as well, but not any in the market right now. And yeah. Anyways, this is another one where I guess people don't really talk about that much, mostly because of how, I guess, hard it is to find. But I mean, you also have his other albums like Indeed, but I think people don't really like that album, which is his first album on Blue Note. And what's his other one aside from The Cooker? There's two other ones, but I can't remember. I guess Volume 2 and Volume 3. But yeah, this is number one on my list. Lee Morgan, City Lights, Blue Note 1575. Great music on here. Hope to see it in the Tone Poet, on the Tone Poet list after the next batch. All of it is released. But yeah, let me know down in the comments if you guys agree with this list. If not, let me know what you guys would like to see in the reissued for the as a classic series or as a Tone Poet. And of course, if you guys stuck this far, thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate it. I know I sort of rambled on, but decided to make this video because I guess Blue Note sort of beat me to it. But I'm glad that I waited for their announcement to be released, and I'm really happy for the the future classic series titles that are going to be releasing soon. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, again, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. I always appreciate. I love replying. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.